everyone. We're back with another episode of Baking. This is Baking with Britton. So Britton's here to help us bake. Britton.
Today we're going to make French toast, and so the ingredients are a large egg, tablespoon of salted butter, melted milk, vanilla, sugar, cup, all-purpose flour, salt.
Okay.
Yeah. This egg is large, so
Give it a bang.
wait,
It's okay.
should it just be the whole thing?
Yep.
Okay.
And why are we going to use 2 eggs?
Because we're making a double batch.
All right, so we're making a double batch of this recipe. So we need 2 eggs. Put in the sugar.
Yeah, once I got my hands.
Yep.
Should we put in the flour?
Put in the sugar first.
The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, but since we're making the double batch, it needs 4.
And this is sugar.
Yeah, sugar. Sugar's sweet.
There's 1. 2. 3. 4. Now he is going to whisk that. Can you stand to the side so we can see? He's gonna go ahead. He's gonna whisk that all together to kind of get it all mixed in there together. He's decided to whisk it with a fork today, so he's gonna do that for a couple minutes until it's all nice and mixed in. Go.
So now I'm going to add in the salt.
So we're gonna add in the salt.
That's a 1/4 teaspoon,
1/4 teaspoon.
but we can use a half teaspoon because we're making a double batch.
Make it a double batch. So 1/4 teaspoon. He's gonna measure out using the 1/2 teaspoon instead. Go ahead.
Wait, where's the... Oh, yeah.
So you can't see him. He's gone over to the sink to measure so that he doesn't accidentally pour out too much and it gets too salty in the mix. So he's gone to the sink to pour. There he is. Puts that in. Now he's good. Now he's on to the vanilla. How much vanilla is there?
2 teaspoons.
2 teaspoons. So how much are you going to measure?
4 teaspoons.
4 teaspoons. So he's going to go ahead and measure 4 teaspoons, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, we're back. He's measured 4 teaspoons. Whoops. He's measured 4 teaspoons into his little bowl, and there it is. And now he's going to pour that right into the French toast. There it goes, and then he's going to give it another whisk with his fork. Okay, go ahead.
We need flour.
He's on to the flour. He's going back to check the recipe. That's a really great strategy for cooking, especially in unfamiliar recipes. You just keep going back and rereading to make sure you got the ingredients right. So it calls for 1/3 of a cup of flour. So you can see him going over to the flour.
Yeah, you have to poke it so all the flour gets in there.
Yep, so he's poking it so all the flour gets in there.
They have to smooth it down so there aren't a bunch of holes and it's way over the top.
Now you can see him doing that. He's smoothing it off with the back of his knife. So there he's done with 1/3. And he's pushing the rest right back in because we don't need that.
It only calls for 1/3, but since we're making a double batch, we use 2/3.
All right. Why didn't you just use the 2/3 measuring cup, Britton?
Was there a 2/3 measuring cup?
No, there isn't. It's a trick question. There's no such thing as that. So, well, I mean, at least we don't have it, I guess.
There probably is, but we don't have it.
We don't have it. So he's going back for a second round of 1/3 because 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. He's going to use the back of the knife to be safe. Plus, the front of the knife is kind of roundy, so that doesn't make a flat surface. There he's good. Now he's going to mix that in and get that all organized for a minute. Okay, he's done a lot of mixing. Now he's getting ready to show you what it's looking like so far. So he's going to tip it so that you can see it. There it is. It's pretty stiff. It's not super runny yet because we haven't added the milk or the butter yet. But it looks really well mixed now. Okay, so he's done with that. Now it's time to add the milk. This is tricky because the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of milk. And can you show us? The measuring cup, the liquid measuring cup that he's chosen only goes up to 1/2. So he has to try to solve that. So what are you going to do, Britton?
I'm going to do 1/2 and 1/4.
So he's decided to do 1/2 first and then 1/4. And then are you done?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You are? We're making a double batch.
Oh.
So then he's going to have to do that again. Or can you at home think of another way he could do it? He only has a 1/2 cup measure. Instead of doing 1/2 and 1/4 and 1/2 and 1/4, could you think of another thing he could do? We're going to pause while he does this. And we're back. And while he was doing it, he thought of another way to do it. What did you end up doing, Britton?
3 halves.
He just did 1/2 and 1/2 and another 1/2. Instead of having to measure 1/4 and 1/4 or 1/4 and 1/4, he decided to do 1/2 and 1/2 and 1/2. So that was really good thinking on his part. So now he's mixing that all in. All right, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of butter. And lucky for him, I've already microwaved it because it's 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So how many tablespoons of melted butter are you going to have to put in there, bud?
4.
4. Go ahead and add those in. I think he's looking for a spatula to kind of be able to scrape it out of that bowl.
Did you already measure it?
I already measured it and I already melted it.
Nice.
So there he goes. He's adding that melted butter in. And he's decided to switch from just a fork to a whisk because it's a little easier to sometimes whisk things together. So he's going to whisk that while I show you the recipe. This recipe, first of all, kudos, is coming out of the new best recipe book. We got this from my sister and her partner several years ago, and we love it. So if you are looking for a fantastic cookbook about how to, it really teaches you like how to actually cook and kind of the sciences behind cooking too, because not only is cooking awesome for math, but it's also really great science. So if that's the case, I would very much recommend this book. We've learned a lot about cooking and baking, and this is the recipe that we are using, the French toast for challah or sandwich bread. It's super yummy. It's our favorite French toast recipe. So Britton is in the middle of whisking that all in together, and as soon as he does, then we're going to get ready to slice up the bread. If you watched our other recipe, this is our bread that we made. It turned out really yummy. So we're going to slice this up and use it for French toast. Okay, we're back. And I'm slicing up the bread. I want to show you that I'm using a serrated knife. We use a serrated knife when we're cutting bread. The serrated means those serrations are those little pointy things down there. And it's because we want to slide it back and forth when we're cutting the bread so that we don't push down so hard and squish the bread. We just put it on top and sort of glide it back and forth to make some nice slices for our French toast. So I'm holding it, keeping my fingers out of the way, and gliding it back and forth using a serrated knife. Meanwhile, Britton, as you can see, is getting our pans ready. So he's taking off the covers of the stove and getting our pans ready so that we can heat them up and be ready to
Eat them.
well, yeah, eventually eat them. That's right. All right, so I've sliced up the whole loaf of bread that we made, and we will come back in just a second when the pan is hot and show you how to make the French toast. Okay, so you can see the pan is getting hot. We put a little butter in it to melt. Now Britton's showing you how you're going to dip the bread. So he puts it in. Yeah, we can see it, but it's okay. So he puts the bread in and kind of pushes it down. And now we need to flip it over because we want the sauce on both sides. So he's going to flip it over. And this is a little messy. You got to be ready to have your fingers be a little gooey. That's just how it goes when you're making French toast. We're going to put it as close to the pan as we can. He's pressed it down. He's ready to go. He's going to lift it up and let it drain just a tiny bit. And then he's going to put it in the pan. Oh, maybe a little bit more carefully so it doesn't splat, because that's hot butter and we don't want that to splat on anybody. So now we're just going to let it cook in the pan. I have it over medium heat. So we're going to let it cook in the pan until the one side gets nice and brown. We're going to reach in with a spatula and flip it over. And then that piece of French toast will be done. So you can either cook like one piece at a time, or we actually sometimes get two pans going at the same time just because, that way we can feed our whole family at one time. So we're going to wait for the other pan also to get heated up, and so we'll begin making two slices of French toast at each time. So enjoy. I hope you love your French toast, and we'll see you next time. Brittany, you want to say bye?
Bye.